Our next part of this talk, I might have to speed up slightly, is about better treatment. What's happening with treatment? Of course you can.
Can I just interrupt? That was amazing. That was so interesting.
Yes.
And encouraging. But the analogies that you come out with are second to none. The whole
I do have some help with those.
Okay, well, that was really interesting, and thank you very much. And I kind of want to take that in before we go on to something else, because
well,
I want to remember this, and I'm going to grab the link that you make of this and send it to the people at Guy's that I see, because I don't think they know.
I think we know one or two people at Guy's.
Yeah.
So, this is the future. They are dealing with the now. So those doctors will be looking at papers and going, well, that looks promising, but we're a long way from using it at the moment.
Well, thank you very much for that, Graham.
But that's what's that's what's coming. It is amazing. 10 years ago, we were talking about, oh, will we possibly have one more antifungal drug? Now we're saying, will we possibly produce biomolecular markers that will identify aspergillosis years before anyone has any symptoms? I mean, that is incredible. The pace of change is just amazing. Okay, let's talk about we're all aware of the biologics. We talked about them earlier on. 20 years ago, as I've just said, there were no such thing. Treatment for asthma and ABPA were very limited. We, David Denning here, introduced the idea of treating ABPA and other fungal airway diseases with antifungals, and had a great deal of success, and that's why that is now used nowadays. But there will come a time when maybe we need those options a lot less, because today we have a range of biologics which can adjust how our immune systems work, can turn off allergy type symptoms, which is what omalizumab does, interfere with inflammation, which is what these others do, and many people are having massive improvements to their quality of life. Doesn't last. For some people it works and then it stops, but for most people it works for many years, and the research I've seen takes it up to, for omalizumab in particular, is known to be active at least up to 16 years. So there's nothing that is in these that makes them lose their effectiveness, because we know they remain effective for lots of people for a long period of time. What's more interesting is why do some people, why are some people responding and then maybe stop responding? We can look into their immune systems and come up with a new generation of these. And that's the sort of thing that we'll be doing now. Why are they different? A normal tablet is a chemical produced by a chemical reaction in a big industrial complex. Biologics are literally produced by living cells in culture. They're proteins, quite complex proteins. So they took a long time to develop, and you can imagine how difficult it is to control what a vat of living cells does consistently, so you can produce the same product consistently. That is a whole different ballgame to doing. This is like pre-Second World War technology. This is right now technology. I don't know how they do it, quite honestly. I've been involved in tissue culture for many years, a long time ago now. And this was the type of apparatus that some people used. I used to use little dishes and incubators. And from one day to the other, it could be quite difficult to get the cells to do the same thing. So this is quite an achievement to actually make these things possible. What have I got? Oh, yes. So why are they so expensive? Well, doing that really difficult job has taken a lot of development research, a lot of trials. Manufacturing, as I've just hinted at, is really difficult. Quality testing is really important. And then this is a living protein. For people who are getting biologics, it's injected. That's because if you were to have an oral drug made out of this, your stomach acid would destroy the product that these cells produce, which are these little antibodies here. That's the symbol for antibodies. So they're injected, and they're complex proteins produced by living cells, really hard to control. And as we know, everything new comes at a higher cost because the manufacturer who did all this work wants to recover their costs. And yes, they also want to repay the people who invested their money to develop these medicines. More people fail from that investment than succeed. So you have to reward people when something works well. Years of research, complex manufacturing, higher cost. However, patents, this is patented, just as these are patented, and patents expire. Enter biosimilars. Another company comes along and analyze how this works. They can't have these cells. Obviously, they can't have these cells because those are protected by the company that developed them. So how they can be, it's really difficult to make a similar product that does the same thing using a different setup. It's taken a long time to develop this. So how is this done? It's done by a lot of really clever people in overseas in many places, and we're also doing some of this in the UK. And when you finally get the answer, you know that your biosimilar is not the same as what's produced by the original company, but you know because you've tested it extensively, and a lot more testing has to be done with these for this reason. Then you can be sure enough, or NICE can be sure enough that what you produced has the same effect as the original drug or the original biologic. If you can do all of that, you haven't done all the research, though arguably you've done quite a lot of it yourself because you've almost reinvented the wheel. Prices will fall, and these are, this is the testing which I've just talked about. The biosimilar has to be judged against the original biologic in lots of clinical trials, and it must have the same clinical impact as the original. If they don't, then they're rejected. And also all the same strict regulatory standards. This can lead to lower cost. Instead of the original cost, £100 per treatment. And I think we know that's being a bit conservative. A course of treatment with omalizumab can cost 10, 20, 30,000 pounds a year. This is bringing that cost down, maybe 70%. We don't really know because these figures are a closely guarded secret, but this is a guess that we'll see a drop. When we see normal drugs dropping because they've developed a generic form, then the final drop in cost is more pronounced than this. But in this case, they're estimating maybe a 30% drop. NHS saves a lot of money, and what the NHS does with that money would be to make these drugs available to more people. So we have yet another development for the NHS, which is cheaper, but we don't see the NHS saving money. We see the NHS treating more people, which is what the NHS is all about. And it leaves spare money available to invest in other NHS services. This is how the NHS operates in the UK. Lower costs mean more people can benefit from life-changing treatments. So you should see these biosimilar biologics becoming available to more people more readily, possibly ABPA patients themselves rather than ABPA with asthma. What does this mean? The new biologics, biosimilars, have a different name. They are marketed in a different way. They have different packaging, but they're the same expected benefit and the same medicine. Xolair dates back to 2003. That was when it was first approved for use in the clinic. It's been around for 23 years, which is quite something. We started using it for as ABPA, I'm going to guess about 10 to 15 years ago. I think MEPO was 2015, quite a big gap. Fasenra 2017, Dupixent 2018. So as you can see, there's an acceleration going on here, and there's more coming. Interestingly, I think current biologics, I think omalizumab has a monthly injection. I might be wrong. It might be a 2-month injection. But we're looking at the next level of the next wave of these. It will be longer acting, so you can have maybe one injection every 6 months for the same effect, which would be amazing. Combination therapies, using more than one. You might know that these take out different parts of our immune system. So if one has a really good effect, you're left with one. But a few people might find that doesn't work as well as it could. And maybe when these things are cheaper and we can use 2 in one person, maybe if we use 2, then we'll get a much more pronounced effect, or maybe use it with an antifungal or something like that. We generally don't mix those. We wouldn't mix 2 of these at the moment because they're too expensive to use 2 in one patient, and we wouldn't use an expensive antifungal alongside one of these either because it's too expensive. But those prices are dropping all the time now. This is just the beginning. Okay, biologic medicines have transformed the treatments of severe asthma and ABPA, but there's a lot more to come. Keep going. Better treatment. Okay. And finally, let's see if I can get through the last few. How many am I up to? 38. Probably won't get to the end. Smarter healthcare. We touched on this earlier on. One patient can have symptoms, scans, blood tests, lung function, sputum, drug levels, genetics, metabolomics that we've just learned about, previous treatments, all these factors are important. And a doctor can be faced with a pile of data to analyze. This guy is only human. How can he possibly analyze, keep all this in his head or her head, and analyze them and coming up with a consistent diagnosis? I think everyone is aware that as patients get more complex, they get harder and harder to treat, and they're more difficult for doctors to understand. This is where AI is coming in to help. AI is extremely good at processing massive amounts of data. I mean, really massive amounts of data. It's also very good at producing slides like this. But this is a different sort of AI. Blood tests, CT scans, metabolomics. So all those thousands of tiny chemicals, those patterns that we're trying to find, all your symptoms that you tell your doctor about, and good old-fashioned cultures and other diagnostics can all go into one AI-powered space, and that AI is designed to recognize patterns. That's what the AI that we are all using in the home is very good at, is recognizing patterns, but just using the same ability to recognize patterns in symptoms and diagnostics to tell the doctor, give the doctor a report that boils all this down into an understandable 1 page, I would imagine. Doctor reviews, adds what the AI can't do is say, I've been working at this for 40 years and I know what the problem is, whereas the doctor can, and the doctor has judgment, which AI does not have, and come up with the right treatment for the right place for the right patient. This is the sort of working more smartly that is starting to come in. I've talked about, we're already analyzing radiology with AI to help, and that's what will probably happen. AI is going to work as a partner to doctors to make their life easier, to make their diagnosis faster, so they'll be able to treat more patients. From a one-size-fits-all to the right treatment for the right patient. Right now we've got one disease. For years, medicine says one disease, one treatment, lots of patients. What the future says, one disease, many different treatments, all specified to individuals. Which is the best one for each individual will be much better adhered to. And as you know, if you've only got one treatment instead of lots of treatments, then you've got much lower number of side effects and so on. Personalized medicine aims to improve outcomes, reduce side effects, give every patient the best chance of better health. Who wouldn't want that? I think that's more or less the same. Yeah. Into the future, what might the next 10 years bring? Earlier diagnosis. This is summing it up. Home monitoring. Working together for a better future. That's patients, families, as well as doctors. Right now, we're asking patients, it's fairly clear that we're asking patients to self-manage a lot more than you would have done in the 1970s, for example. Part of that role that you're taking on is to help the doctors and researchers to manage your health better. Better monitoring as we start to develop more biomarkers. And when this sort of thing becomes available for aspergillosis, I will let you know. I'll be very excited. AI-assisted care, which will, at the moment, we're recognizing patterns in X-rays, CT scans and the like. We'll be recognizing patterns in all sorts of different types of diagnostics in the near future. More treatment options as we develop more treatments. Omalizumab is the, no, that's the wrong one. Forget I said that. I'm trying to remember the name of the new antifungal, but I can't. Can't bring it to mind. Personalised medicine is the big outcome. What probably won't change, your doctors will still listen in the future. Patients will still have to describe their symptoms to the doctor and maybe to a nurse and to the system. Relationships between the doctor and the patient will still matter a very great deal. Clinical judgment will still be very important, and only your doctor can give you that. Not a machine, not AI, not all these diagnostics. It's the person in the middle of it with all the experience who will use their clinical judgment. Compassion and empathy will always be human. AI doesn't care. AI can very much sound like, when you use it, it very much feels like you're talking to a person. But they're not human. They have no compassion. They have no empathy. They can pretend they have, but they don't. Only your doctor has that. Human experience plus technology and innovation, better decisions and better outcomes. We've been promising this we've probably heard this all repeatedly for 10, 20 years, but you can see the signs of it actually starting to happen now. The future of aspergillosis care isn't about replacing people. It's about using every advance to care for people better. Certainly we'll be at the forefront of that, and so will Guy's, and every other hospital in the UK will be striving. 5 things to remember. Diagnosis is becoming more precise. Treatment options are continuing to grow. Biosimilars are helping more patients access these new modern medicines, these new biologics. AI will support, not replace, healthcare professionals. And the future of aspergillosis care looks increasingly personalised. The future of all care looks increasingly personalised as we develop more ways to get more accurate information out of patients to diagnose what their personal needs are. This is a quote from me. When I first started working in aspergillosis, we had very few treatment options, very limited diagnostic tools. Looking back at where we are, looking at where we are today and where research is heading, I genuinely think the next decade will be one of the most exciting periods we've ever seen in aspergillosis care. To be fair, the last 5 years have been the most exciting period before this, because the impact of biologics has been incredible, and there's so much more to come. This is not hype. And that's it. Thank you for listening. I think that timed it quite